Okay, so in my previous video we established that during its early days, Dead by Daylight used to have dark, rundown and atmospheric graphics, as well as a washed out watercolor art style, which although wasn't very noticeable, definitely gave DBD a unique flavor. Over time, however, the game went through multiple engine updates, and the developers decided to stray away from the original slightly cartoony visuals, in favor of less gritty and more higher resolution textures. And the straw that broke the camel's back was the so-called Realm Beyond update, which basically consisted of visual reworks to almost everything in Dead by Daylight, including, but not limited to, graphical overhauls of old maps and realms, new 3D models for the different props, such as generators, pallets, lockers, hooks, etc., updated animations, sounds and visual effects. Last time we covered parts 1 and 2 of the Realm Beyond, so in this video we're going to discuss the remaining ones, as well as talk a little bit more about the legacy of this massive update. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. On the 1st of December 2020, patch 4.4.0 was released. This was the third part of the Realm Beyond update, which included a visual rework to 2 realms, with one of them being Auto Haven Wreckers. Thankfully for this one, the developers decided to keep the green tint, however the maps went from being shrouded in fog and mystery to being significantly cleaner and less rough. Another thing I've noticed about the Realm Beyond updates is the removal of many of the trees from the maps, which we'll get back to later. The other realm that was reworked was Mount Ormond Resort. This one clearly became a lot brighter and less run down, almost as if the property was abandoned last week. But I have to give the developers credit here, because with this overhaul, they also addressed the balance aspects of this map. See, the original Ormond was very survivor-sided, and along with the rework, the developers made the map a bit more bearable for killers. The Realm Beyond Part 3 also implemented new 3D models for totems, as well as a new model for the hatch. The trend of making maps brighter continued with the next part of the Realm Beyond, that being number 4, where Gideon Meat Plant and the Krotospren Asylum realms received their visual reworks. Now, the funny thing about Gideon Meat Plant is that its graphical overhaul was completely overshadowed by the fact that the developers did an absolutely terrible job balancing the map. It went from being a pretty good killer map to having 25 incredibly safe pallets on the map. In terms of Krotospren, the realm became significantly cleaner and less run down, especially the asylum itself. The building doesn't even look abandoned anymore, it looks like someone spent 5 minutes breaking the windows and sprinkling some dust on the floor in an attempt to make it look slightly unkept. Even the exit gates got very polished. When it comes to Father Campbell's chapel, I cannot help but notice how colorful and pretty the original map looked, with all of the different carnival lights. And then the new one is just kind of meh, like, you know, where's the atmosphere? In addition to this, the Realm Beyond Part 4 implemented new 3D models for the clown and the nurse, because the developers decided that the original ones were no longer in line with their artistic direction. Now, something nice and very positive about the Realm Beyond update is that this was when the developers decided to add colorblind settings, in order to make the game more accessible overall. Moving on to the next part, the 5th Realm Beyond update was introduced on the 4th of May 2021 and reworked all 5 Coldwind farm maps, turning them from very dark to incredibly bright. Furthermore, almost all of the trees completely disappeared from this realm, and the ones that remain are pretty small and only sit next to the edges of the maps, which I guess makes sense for a realm located in a farm, but still I feel like the trees' crowns in the original maps gave Coldwind a really cool vibe. What was pretty neat, however, is that the Thompson house became a lot more detailed, and now it actually looks like someone used to live there. The Realm Beyond Part 5 also reworked the model of the Doctor, who went from this goofy looking guy to an actual menacing character. The treatment theater map was also made a bit brighter, but keep in mind that this wasn't the map's first rework. See, Larry's received an overhaul long before the Realm Beyond update started, but it wasn't really marketed in any way, so most players have forgotten that when the map received its first rework in patch 3.5.0, it was pretty dark and featured a lot of mist. Now, the fog and the mist are something that was also progressively taken away from DBD's maps, because if we take a look at them during the first few months of the Realm Beyond, we can very clearly see that they featured quite a bit of mist. But now in the current versions of Dead by Daylight, the maps are just not foggy at all, which is confusing because Behavior keeps marketing the game with the phrase "see you in the fog". They even have fog whisperers. But what happened to the fog itself? Now, going back to the Realm Beyond update, the last official part was number 6, which featured visual reworks to all of these outdated Survivor models. In general, these changes were positive, because in all honesty, some of the original Survivor 3D models simply looked kinda goofy. Notable examples include Nia Carlson, who originally was very ugly, but after the update she began looking pretty good. But the most infamous example of this is probably Quentin Smith, who in the past was widely considered to be the worst looking survivor in all of Dead by Daylight. However, the Realm Beyond immensely improved his looks. Personally though, I do prefer the original versions of Feng Min, Dwight Fairfield and David King. Okay, so after this, the Realm Beyond went on a hiatus, and Behavior stopped creating promotional videos for the update. However, the developers continued overhauling the older maps in the game, for instance Haddonfield. And the reason why these screenshots look so pretty is because with patch 5.7.0, which is when the Lumpkin Lane rework was implemented, DBD's engine was updated from version 4.25 to 4.27.2. Feel free to check out my video about the history of Haddonfield if you're interested in learning more about it. In addition, 1 year later, the Red Forest realm also received a visual overhaul, which, similar to Gideon Meat Plant, was overshadowed by the fact that the developers decided to add a bunch of unnecessary clutter to the realm. Recently, Dead by Daylight's engine was updated to Unreal Engine 5, however we haven't yet fully seen the extent of this change, as the developers haven't completely realized the potential of UE5. Honestly, I am just hoping that they do not overcomplicate the game's graphics and make it look like every other video game where you need a $10,000 computer just to make it run okay, because until I upgrade my PC, I am stuck using map offerings and sending myself to Backwater Swamp, just because DBD runs absolutely terribly on other maps, especially Shelter Woods. God, just being near the main building feels like a slideshow. By the way, this wasn't like that before the Unreal Engine 5 update. Also, I just want to say that I started playing in 2021, so I am definitely not blinded by nostalgia of the old Dead by Daylight. The game has clearly shifted away from its original horror aesthetic, and I'm actually fairly okay with that, because the way it is, at least for me, I prefer the old graphics not necessarily because they made DBD look scary, but because they had personality, depth, character and created an amazing atmosphere. I'm not sure if I'm able to say the same for the game's current visuals. They're just kinda generic, you know? I feel like Behavior have kind of trapped themselves by trying to make the game's graphics more quote-unquote realistic and more high quality, whatever that means. Because when you do that, then your product is bound to age badly. In a few years, when the current DBD visuals become outdated, what are the devs gonna do? Are they gonna change every single map yet again? The current design philosophy is simply unsustainable. If the developers had just focused on creating a unique art style, similar to how games like Overwatch have their own art direction, then Behavior wouldn't have had that problem. Anyways, let me know what you think about all of this. I'm glad you made it till the end of the video, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!